Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back. Well, today we're working on the 1966 Shovelhead engine again. I recently received my cylinders, pistons, and all the goods from the shop. I am still waiting on the heads to be finished, but I do have these for now, and today we're going to work on fitting these pistons to these cylinders. Now, everything's been machined, so it'll all play nicely together, but we do need to do ring gap, fit the pistons on the connecting rods, and of course fit our cylinders in place. We're going to run through the ring gap process and some of the how-tos on how to do this. Anyway, let's get the camera moved and get you guys on my end. Looking at the engine, you can see I've got everything covered up and I have my tools kind of laid out in front of me. I'm going to start working on the rear cylinder first, then we'll move to the front. My pistons are sitting behind the engine and I have them in the right position for what I have. Now the pistons can go in either one of the cylinders because the cylinders have been machined equally to accept either one of them. So the pistons and the cylinders are all matched in size. I did start with a new old stock set of Dixie cylinders and Dixie pistons. These were all the Japanese made ones from years ago. They came with new rings and everything needed to do a top end build. One of the tools you'll need is a ring grinder. I do have this here. We're going to grab the rings here and we'll look at those next. Hopefully you can see this here. If you're looking at piston rings, there's a direction on which they go. These ones say standard STD. There'll either be that or there'll be dots on it, and that will tell you that's the side that goes up. So that's the ring that goes in the upward position. Obviously you have your two rings here, and then we have our oil ring here, and then our oil ring guides there. And we do need to go ahead and fit all of these to our cylinder. When it comes to setting ring gap, you'll actually push your ring into the cylinder itself. So you'll set this in gently, and then you'll square it up with the piston. And you'll see the gap here. Now these have already been set by the machine shop. So everything's been done. The piston rings are all set, pistons are set, everything's at the proper gap. You want between 10 and 20 thousandths. These are right at 20 thousandths. So this is where our ring gap is here. And every one of these has already been measured and set based on these cylinders. So each one is done. Now we just have to put the rings onto the pistons. Looking at our piston, we've got our three ring grooves here. So we're going to start with our oil ring first. So we're going to wind this thing in place. Next, we're going to take our bottom oil ring here and we're going to wind this on as well. We're going to get this underneath that ring. Next, we have the next two rings. As you can see, I have the oil ring installed, so that's all set to go. These two are the same size, same thickness, so they can go in either spot. So we're going to go ahead and get those put in place. I do have a little ring expander that works pretty good for this. It doesn't work on those skinny rings, unfortunately. We're going to rotate that 180 degrees. We're going to put this one on this side. Of course, you want to make sure that it has either the dots or the markings are up. That's where it faces up. Next, you want to align these. You want your gap to be either on either side, so that way you're not getting oil passing through between the bottom and the top. So I've got one ring gap on one side and one on the other side. Next, we need to install a wrist pin clip on this side here. That way when you're driving your wrist pin into the piston itself, you have a stopping point. So I'm going to put my clip in on first. And the clips do have a beveled side and a flat side. This flat side will go inward. I've got a set of spring clip pliers here. I just want to get that right in the groove on the inside. Then you want to check its fitment to make sure it's actually seated into the hole all the way around. So there's a groove all around. Make sure this is seated, because if one side's out, this thing can spring out. We don't want that. So now that this is in place, we'll check to make sure our rings are spaced properly. Now, the piston itself says STD on it, so standard size. That logo or that marking should face the right-hand side of the engine. So with that being said, we can go ahead and put this in place. So what I want to do here is I want to push the wrist pin in just a little bit, and it does move fairly simply in here. It's nice. It's supposed to be able to move easy. Now the shop is a little cold. You're supposed to be able to move this freely at 70 degrees. I'm not quite 70 degrees in here today. It's taken a little bit for this to heat up. It's probably 36 degrees outside, so of course the shop's heater is running all the time. But anyway, what I'm saying is if I can push this in a little bit and be able to hook it onto the connecting rod itself and then guide it through the rest of the way, this should give me a little bit of a lip here to hang on to. Now I do have a little tool here, and this will help me to drive that in just a little bit further, just to be able to seat on the back side of this clip. And with the wrist pin seated, now I can put my clip on the other side. I'm going to leave that out for right now. I'm going to repeat the process on the other piston. We'll go ahead and get that one set and ready to go. Okay, now that we're on the left-hand side of the engine, we need to put our clips in place. Again, these are directional. This side is beveled. This side is flat. The flat side goes against the wrist pin. So we'll go ahead and we'll compress this and we'll get it into its home. That one is snapped in place. We'll go ahead and repeat the process on the other side here. That one is snapped into its home. Now it's time to take the rags out of the cylinders. I've just left those in there so this signal wasn't setting directly on the cases. The connecting rods weren't just sitting there like, I don't want them to be that way, so I just needed to put these on just to keep everything kind of safe, and it kept debris from going inside the engine. Next, we're going to install the base gaskets here. So we're going to just fish these over the top of the pistons. I probably should have did that first, but I did not. I am putting these on dry. With that set, we are ready to start setting the cylinders in place. We're going to work on the front cylinder first, so I'm going to take my little guide here. I'm going to get it into place here. And then we're going to rotate the engine over until that comes down flat. Now with the piston flat against this tool here, or this base here, I'm ready to put my cylinder in place. I want to first check my rings because they have rotated, and I want to make sure that they are in the proper position because I do not want these wrong. I don't want this engine to have oil blow by or pass by, so we're going to rotate these. Those are 180 degrees apart from each other and they're where I want them. Next, I want to take my cylinder. It is kind of dry, so I do want to put a little assembly lube on the inside of this. Now, it has been machined. It does have some oil on it. It's been cleaned, but it is not lubricated well enough, I don't think. So I'm going to get some lube on here just to help things guide a little bit, make a little bit of a mess here. With assembly lube in place, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take my handy, move this out of the way, my handy ring compressor here. We're going to compress these rings down evenly. We're going to grab that with these pliers. We'll squeeze these into place. Now that they're in place, we'll grab the cylinder itself and we'll start setting this down onto the rings. As you can see, I've worked the cylinder back and forth enough to get past all the rings, so I can take my ring compression tool off and I can seat this down the rest of the way. I can rotate the cylinder and the engine around, pull my tool out there, I can seat everything down. Now with the front cylinder in place, we'll go ahead and we'll repeat the process on the rear cylinder. We'll go ahead and get our cylinder block in place here. With our cylinder block in place, we'll apply some lubricant to the other cylinder here. With the cylinder lubricated, now we can move back to the piston. And again, we'll take our ring compression tool here. We'll get it around the piston itself. We'll slowly compress these rings all together, trying to keep this thing as even as possible. Okay, with our cylinders installed, it's time to put on our base nuts. I will be using a Colony parts kit. This is stock number 7017-16. These are for 1930 to 77 big twins. It's one washer and one acorn nut per stud. Now, no good project could be considered a project without having to make some alterations along the way. And obviously these cylinders here are replacement cylinders, so the reliefs that are cut in here are not all exactly the same. and the washers on the outer studs on the right hand side do not fit properly. So I'm going to go ahead and file them just a little bit just to give me a little clearance so I can actually slide these down onto the bases and then get my castle nuts in place, or my acorn nuts, excuse me. So I'm going to go ahead and file on these first to get these to fit, and then we'll get them properly set up. If you're looking at the two washers, you can see this one on the left is all the way around and this one on the right has a little flat spot. This has allowed me to be able to slide this down across the stud and into its position on the other side here. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one. So I have two matched washers and then they'll slide under these studs properly. With a little bit of hand filing, these things have been squared off on the one side, allowing them to fit the relief on the other side of the engine here. So I'll go ahead and put these in place and then I'll put my acorn nuts on top. This is going to be hard to see in here, but you can see this flat spot here. This is what goes on the back side there and allows this washer to fit all the way down onto that base. It's just because this relief isn't cut perfectly. So now that that's in its proper home, I can go ahead and thread down this acorn nut. The front was the same. It was both of the outer studs. Now it's time to start tightening these down. You want to do a crisscross type pattern and say 5/8 nut on these. So you want to start on one side and just get it snug, and then move to the other side, opposite corner, and then to the other side, same thing, corner to corner. Now I do not have the proper torque extension for this engine right now. I'm going to order that today, that way I can properly torque everything. The torque spec for these is between 32 and 36 foot-pounds. Of course, like I said, you want to do that crisscross pattern. So start here, opposite side, and then again. So you want to do 20 pounds is what the manual is saying, and then up to 36 pounds. So you want to start about half of what the torque spec should be and then increase it gradually to the final torque spec. I am working out of an old AMF manual. So this is a Harley Davidson manual. The part number on this, I don't see. Here we go. The part number on this is 99482-69. I believe this to be a original Harley Davidson manual. I did get this years ago. I bought a whole bunch of them. So I am working out of this pretty solely on this engine and most of my engines. That's as far as I'm going to go for today. Like I said, I don't have the heads. Unfortunately, I don't have those. So we're going to stuff these cylinders again with some rags here. I do have some oil in them, so they should stay oiled. And of course, then they won't rust. The next stage, of course, is get the heads back and then get the heads on, oil lines, and continue on with this engine. This is as far as I can go for today. Of course, if you like this video, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. As I said, I have come back from the machine shop. So if you know what I had at the machine shop, I had these cylinders and the cylinders for the DS7. So if you're looking forward to that video, you're going to want to subscribe because it's going to come out soon. I'm going to continue working on these engines, trying to get these things together so I can get these in these bikes and get these bikes on the road. I've got a lot of things in the works, so subscribe to my channel and follow along with all the madness. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them in that comment section below. I love the commentary. I love talking back and forth to you guys. I've really enjoyed that. I've gotten a lot of great feedback and I've gotten a lot of good tech tips, so I really appreciate that. Anyway, friends, that's it for this one. I'm on to the next one. We'll catch you next time.